Welcome to our channel. We're so happy to have you here. Don't forget to subscribe and help us hit our goal of 100,000 subscribers. In 1966, 6 Tongan teenage boarding school students decided to run away on stolen boat. They aimed to sail Fiji, but a storm left them shipwrecked on the uninhabited islands of Ata Lol. 2nd June, 1953. Elizabeth II was crowned in Westminster Abbey, marking the beginning of a reign that would last 70 years, 7 months, and 6 days, the longest in British history. Here she is in the late 60s, early 70s. A behind-the-scenes photo from the set of the NBC sitcom Caroline in the City, which exists in the same universe as Friends. Matthew Perry's Chandler Bing made a cameo on the show, while on that same episode, Jonathan Silverman's character Jonathan Elliott from another NBC sitcom, The Single Guy, also appeared, further linking the shows. The farmhouse that once occupied corner of the 84th Street and Broadway in Manhattan was known as the Brennan Farm. This rural retreat became home to renowned poet Edgar Allan Poe and his wife, who moved there in hopes that the fresh country air would help ease Poe's tuberculosis. 1840s. You might not know it, but for a short time, the iconic Hollywood Bowl had a fountain in front of the stage. At first, it was built as a reflecting pool in 1953, and in 1959, the fountains were added, designed to create a scenic and elegant backdrop for performances. In 1968, Jimi Hendrix played the bowl, and fans jumped into the fountain while he played. The fountain was removed in 1972, but to this day, that section of seats is called the Pool Circle pool seats. Robert De Niro's mohawk from Taxi Driver, 1976, was not real due to the fact that he had to film scenes for another movie shortly after Taxi Driver. Instead, they created a bald cap that was glued to De Niro's head. The wig is currently on display at the Museum of Moving Images in Queens, New York. Aside from the Zapruder film, this is believed to be the last photo of JFK taken while he was alive. This photo was taken 2 seconds after the fatal shot. He was not immediately killed, when the motorcade was already passing the Texas School Book Depository building, which can be seen in the background. Louis Vuitton's rich, storied history is often overshadowed by its continued relevance and desirability today, so it's easy to forget that the brand's legacy of luxury stretches back far. This 1930 Vogue photo of their iconic monogrammed luggage is a testament to how long Louis Vuitton has been synonymous with elegance and exclusivity. The iconic Hollywood sign was actually built in 1923 to advertise the Hollywoodland real estate development in the hills below it. The sign was originally only supposed to be up for 18 months, but it became a visual symbol of Los Angeles. Throughout most of the golden age of Hollywood, the Hollywood sign read Hollywoodland, with the land part only being removed in 1949. Marilyn Monroe graced the cover of the very first issue of Playboy magazine in December 1953. However, she didn't pose for the magazine. The iconic issue featured a nude photo of Monroe, taken years earlier in 1949, which Hugh Hefner purchased for $500 without her direct involvement. Despite the controversy, the issue was an instant hit, selling over 50,000 copies and further cementing Monroe's place in pop culture history. A photo of the Isleworth Mona Lisa, which some people believe is an earlier version of Leonardo da Vinci's famous Mona Lisa. It features a younger-looking woman with a similar pose and smile. However, its authenticity and origin has been the subject of debate. While some experts argue Leonardo himself painted it, others believe it could be the work of a follower. This is the aftermath of the Great Molasses Flood of 1919, a deadly event that claimed the lives of 21 people in Boston after a container holding over 2 million gallons of molasses burst, sending a wave of molasses several feet high through the city streets. This is a picture of a meeting of the New York chapter of the Fat Men's Club, circa 1930. According to the photo's caption, pictured here are a Rockwitz, 312 pounds, comedian Eddie Carvey, 250 pounds, David Burns, 475 pounds, and F.C. Cupper, 351 pounds. Members had to be at least 200 pounds to join. For 2 brief years, 1934 to 1935, the United States issued a $100,000 bill with Woodrow Wilson's big ol' mug on it. It never circulated publicly, but if it did, I would use it to buy 100,000 Arizona iced teas. The winged victory of Samothrace, an ancient Greek marble statue, was hidden in the Château de Valençay during World War II to protect it from Nazi looting. As part of the Louvre's efforts to safeguard its most precious artworks, the statue was carefully evacuated and concealed until the war ended. After the liberation of France, it was returned to the Louvre. Below are photos of how it was put back into place atop the top of the Daru staircase. Celebrities on the cover of fashion magazines isn't an entirely new phenomenon. This is Cary Grant on the cover of GQ for the September issue, 1962 issue, and Carol Channing on the cover of the Winter 1964-65 issue. CBS's Face the Nation has had many politicians and world leaders appear on the program since it debuted in 1954, but you might not know that Che Guevara was among them. In December 1964, Guevara appeared on the program while in New York. This is a photo of him taken on the show. One of the biggest fads of the 1950s was phone booth stuffing, wherein a bunch of people would, well, stuff themselves into a phone booth. The world record at the time was 25 people stuffed into a phone booth, truly an example of the triumph of the human spirit. Marilyn Monroe graced the cover of the very first issue of Playboy magazine in December 1953. However, she didn't pose for the magazine. The iconic issue featured a nude photo of Monroe, taken years earlier in 1949, which Hugh Hefner purchased for $500 without her direct involvement. Despite the controversy, the issue was an instant hit, selling over 50,000 copies and further cementing Monroe's place in pop culture history. In 1911, Italian handyman Vincenzo Peruggia stole the Mona Lisa from the Louvre by hiding in a supply closet overnight and walking out with the painting under his coat. Motivated by a sense of patriotism, he believed the artwork belonged in Italy, not France. The painting was missing for 2 years before Peruggia was caught trying to sell it to an art dealer in Florence. Here's a photo of it being inspected by the Uffizi Museum's director, Giovanni Poggi, after it was recovered. This map, from 1507, is the first map to ever label America as America. As you probably know, it was named in honor of Amerigo Vespucci and was the first map to depict clearly a separate Western Hemisphere with the Pacific as a separate ocean. A lone Soviet soldier walks away from a grave of his fallen brothers in arms on the banks of the Volga, Stalingrad. 478,000 to 675,000 Red Army troops died in the brutal fighting. February 1943. Bar Gunner. Terry Moore eats his rations on Okinawa. April/May 1945. He served with the 184th Infantry Regiment, 7th Infantry Division, and was wounded in action on May 27, 1945. He was discharged on August 9, 1945, and passed away in 2004. He is buried in Lompoc, California. On this day in 1970, 2,000 students gathered on the campus of Kent State in Ohio to protest the Vietnam War. Though canisters of tear gas were fired into the crowd, the protesters remained steadfast. At 12:24 p.m., National Guardsmen opened fire, killing 4 people and injuring 9 in 13 seconds. Photograph of members of the DEER Team, U.S., and the Viet Minh, Vietnam, in a training camp during World War II, 1939 to 1945. In the center is U.S. Major Allison K. Thomas, flanked by Vo Nguyen Giap, right, and Ho Chi Minh, left. Rare in the sense of identified, not the Overlook Hotel from The Shining, where it was used with Jack Nicholson superimposed, but a Valentine's Day dance at the Empress Rooms, Royal Palace Hotel, 1921. USS Vixen, Maxim Machine Gun and Gunner Smith, The gun appears to be a Maxim Nordenfeldt 37mm 1-pounder autocannon, known to the British as a pom-pom, 1898.